You mentioned that you didn't have any lines in that final scene. It's actually one of the things I most admire about your performance as 3PO. I was in a mime troupe in college, so I always look for actors who imbue a certain physicality into their performance. And I know that you were a theatrically trained mime, if I'm not mistaken. So how do you approach the sort of physicality of 3PO? Do you change it from film to film?
He's got to be consistent, hopefully, throughout, and very much depends on his circumstances. You know, he is a machine. He's like a microwave. He stays a microwave. But I've said in the past, you know, it depends what you cook in the microwave, changes the whole thing. He was given different circumstances in each film. So that first film, A New Hope, was kind of a nightmare for various reasons. So many things went wrong. But the delicious thing in the script was the relationship he was given by George Lucas with R2-D2, with Luke Skywalker, with the princess, and of course with Han Solo, well, impossible man, as he became in the second film, because whereas R2 went off on a dynamic with Luke, 3PO was left with somebody who was a bit rude to him right from day one. And so it always depended, but I did try and find new things, like to learn was that R2 wasn't going to speak to me. This was after 6 months with the script. You think somebody would have said, oh, by the way, where it says R2 beeps a response, that's not going to happen. You just have to mime that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things you have to remember is if you are doing improvisation with an object and you're pretending that object is talking, you have to listen. You can't just stare at it waiting for your cue, which isn't going to come. You choose when to say. You actually have to listen and react appropriately to something that isn't coming at you, but something you remember from reading in your homework in the evenings. So many things to react to. I remember particularly a scene in the torture chamber in Jabba's palace. You know, you've got somebody having his feet burnt off. And then over here I remember approaching and they got like a child droid in a frame having been pulled apart. Who thinks of this stuff? It's a Star Wars movie. But I remember thinking, well, how do I show fear? And I suddenly realized that if you do this kind of, you know, the shoulders come up here, your neck shrinks down a bit like a turtle, you know. And the trick was then to remember which line or which moment to do it on so they can cut between the two.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that.
Little things like that truly add so much to the final performance, and something I've always admired.
And sometimes, thank you, and sometimes the littlest things work way better, more subtly than I talk about it in the book that I've written. There's two moments I admire myself, if I may.
Please.
Two moments out of 9 films, it's not much. Is the moment where Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan, we are taking off from the Death Star and Alec has just sacrificed himself. What is it, if you cut me down? I'm more strong or whatever. And 3PO is just there in the Millennium Falcon and just looking so sad. And his face doesn't change, his sculpture doesn't change. But then you have to realize that you, the audience, have been given a key to this is a sad moment. And maybe John Williams is there with the orchestra playing sad music, so it keys the audience into knowing it's sad. Everybody works together to make this effect. But the second moment I really do enjoy is in the third movie, Return of the Jedi, where Han Solo is just being so cheeky, tapping 3PO on the shoulder, interrupting him as he's talking to his new friend, the Ewok. You know, ask him this. Don't it? Ask him this. And the third time he does it, 3PO just goes, looks at him with absolute severity, anger, frustration, you know, wretched human. And given the restrictions of the costume, because I can only move from there to there, unless of course I prepare the shoulders and then you can get more of an angle. So some of these things you had to manufacture. A lot of it became second nature. But working out ways around the suit, how to cheat, so films are all about cheating, really.